On his right side, in the region of the hip, a wound the size of the palm of one's hand has opened up, rose-colored, in many different shadings, dark in the depths, brighter on the edges, delicately grained, with uneven patches of blood open to the light like a mine. That's what it looks like from a distance. Close up, complication is apparent. Who can look at that without whistling softly? Worms, as thick and as long as my little finger, themselves rose-colored and also spattered with blood, are wriggling their white bodies with many limbs from their stronghold in the inner part of the wound towards the light. Poor young man, there's no helping you. I have found out your great wound. You are dying from this flower on your side. The family is happy. They see me doing something. The sister says to the mother tells the father tells a few guests who are coming in on tiptoe through the moonlight of the open door, balancing themselves with outstretched arms. "Will you save me?" whispers the young man, sobbing, quite blinded by the life inside his wound. That's how people are in my region, always demanding the impossible from the doctor. They've lost the old faith. The priest sits at home and tears his religious robes to pieces, one after the other. But the doctor is supposed to achieve everything with his delicate surgeon's hand. Well, it's what they like to think. I have not offered myself. If they use me for sacred purposes, I let that happen to me as well. What more do I want? An old country doctor, robbed of my servant girl. And they come, the families and the village elders, and they take my clothes off. A choir of school children, with the teacher at the head, stands in front of the house and sings an extremely simple melody with the words, "Take his clothes off, then he'll heal, and if he doesn't cure, then kill him. It's only a doctor, it's only a doctor." Then I am stripped of my clothes, and with my fingers in my beard and my head tilted to one side, I look at the people quietly. I am completely calm and clear about everything, and stay that way too, although it is not helping me at all, for they are now taking me by the head and feet and dragging me into bed. They lay me against the wall on the side of the wound. Then they all go out of the room. The door is shut. The singing stops. Clouds move in front of the moon. Oh! Miserable coins, tokens, pathetic shrine mentality. We have lost the old faith. We have lost the old faith, as the country doctor says. Many people have interpreted the story as being specifically about that. We have lost the old faith, and so we leave these tokens and we create new shrines out of writers and pop stars, and we come and bring them little coins. What could you wish for from Kafka? If you laid something on his grave, you laid a bolt on Kafka's grave, or is this a reference to Tarkovsky's Stalker? You throw the bolt and follow it. What could you, or the fuse, or a lighter? What could these tokens? What would you wish for from Kafka? What would your Kafka prayer be? Friends, bless me in some way. Hmm? Oh. The last months and weeks of Kafka's life were pretty grim. A succession of sanatoria in the region of Vienna. But then after death, he was tormented by tourists. Do you like his writing?
Yes. We
What?
never read a book or something, but we know him from name.
You haven't read his book?
No,
So why did you come to visit his grave?
because we are in Prague.
Okay.
It's very beautiful, the cemetery here.
Okay.
Very, very beautiful.
Maybe that's suitable in a way that you haven't read his books, since you didn't really want them to be read. Perhaps he would have preferred that. You just came to visit his grave without having read his book. It's a kind of nice way around the whole problem of Max Brod. Max Brod's decisions. His great friend is commemorated behind you there, the man who saved his manuscript. There's a lot of what, you know, might seem to be kind of apocryphal tales that kind of wreathe accounts of Kafka's death, and, you know, can seem like being of a piece with the sort of sanctification of him and his kind of confirmation as a kind of religious thinker that certainly Max Brod wished to take place. You know, for example, one of the nurses in the sanatorium where he died, you know, sort of said of how, you know, kind of light and simple and pure and kind of peaceful his death was. You know, he was buried here, I think the 11th of June, 1924, about 100 mourners, Hebrew prayers for the dead, and apparently the sky then darkened and rain fell, which seems a little bit too biblical to be true, but, you know, maybe it was so. His father turned his back on Dora Diamant, the Austin Juden who had nursed and cared for Kafka in the last few months of his life. Though, you know, arguably this wasn't some kind of rejection, but, you know, he had, after all, just lost his oldest child and his only son. Here they all are, Herman and Julie, the father he kind of never got on with, the mother who people feel never understood that his writing was anything much more than a pastime, and the three sisters memorialized here, who all died in the Nazis' Holocaust. And now, let's dance! Let's dance. He's a funny guy. You know, I emailed somebody last night, you know, the writer Isabel Fonseca in New York, and said, you know, Kafka, a bit of a schlemiel, wasn't he? And she wrote back and said, you know, not the angst merchant of memory, a humorous writer, a funny guy, a Yiddish song and dance man.